Good? Having a good Monday so far? School break is over? Back to the grind? Ena mana, ena reo, ena rao rangatirama, noreira, tena koto, tena koto, tena koto katoa. Welcome to Auckland University of Technology and our great graduates Spotlight Series. I know you're not here for the food, although the food's really yummy, and the drinks, or for AUT, but you're here for our fantastic keynote speaker, Gracie MacKinlay.
Thank you for having me here. Tēnā koutou katoa, everyone. Thanks for taking your time out. Hear me to tell some stories, and hopefully you find something that's interesting and maybe some tools to use for yourself later on. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Our pleasure, Gracie. So we've got so many questions. Gracie and I met last week over coffee.
I was late.
And there were so many questions, and I'm sure we're not going to be able to get through half of them. But hopefully there's going to be enough there, food for thought, and obviously also an opportunity afterwards to maybe ask some questions to Gracie. We're going to leave about 15 minutes at the end for some Q&A from the audience as well. So if you have a question or a question pops up, hold on to that question, and we're going to leave about 15 minutes at the end. When you do pose your question, please introduce yourself so that we know who you are and where you are coming from. Gracie, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's have some fun. So you were born in Inner Mongolia, right? Which,
Correct.
For those that are geographically challenged, is part of the People's Republic of China.
Correct.
Right? How does a person born in Inner Mongolia end up in New Zealand?
Right. So yeah, Inner Mongolia is part of China, north part of China. How I was born there, mom and dad, actually, they weren't from there. They're from the metropolitan city, Tianjin. But during the Cultural Revolution, the government wants all the people to experience the hard life, the peasant life. So they were sent to Inner Mongolia. So I was born there. I was there till I was about 6 years old. And my parents always wanted us to have good education, but that place just wasn't offering that. So we're talking about a place that's, in my childhood memory, just gravel roads and donkey carriages. And then one day I came back with my preschool transcript and teacher's feedback, and there were 2 wrong characters in there. That was the last straw card, and mom and dad saying, "Nah, that's enough. We need to, for the future of myself and my sister." So we decided to leave the place. The government didn't allow them to leave at the time. There's no policy they could return to where they came from. So we escaped. So I remember mom and dad would tell me, "Don't tell anyone." And then one night we took the train and went back to Tianjin. We stayed at my grandparents' place. So it's a little sleep out, about 10 square meters at the backyard. Four of us lived there with my sister and parents. We lived there for several years. Went to elementary school there. So that's kind of start from Inner Mongolia. Okay. This is the time, 1980s, so China just started opening up, encouraging sort of economy and private entities. Mom and dad have been exploring the opportunities, how to earn more money to support better living. So we moved to southern part of China called Hainan. So it's an island at the bottom of China.
Chinese Hawaii, right?
Yeah, well, nowadays it is. When we were there in the early days, it's quite isolated part of China. They haven't seen a lot of people from mainland. But that represents a lot of business opportunities for my parents. So I studied for my middle school over there. Mom and dad have always wanted us to go to the middle school they've been to in Tianjin, which is one of the best schools in China. So they sent me and my sister back to Tianjin while they were still running their business to earn money. So me and my sister were in boarding school and high school back in Tianjin in Nankai Middle School. When it comes to time to go to university, here's the trouble. I'm not a resident of anywhere. I just can't take the entry exam to any university.
So you didn't have a hukou?
I don't have a hukou.
Okay.
Very good. So yeah, like it wasn't an option not to go to university. Growing up in the environment, my parents value university so much, and they didn't get the opportunity to go to when they were in high school. So it appeared to me the only option was going overseas. And to do that, I need to study English. So I went to Beijing to learn English for the test, which is called a TOEFL test, the test of English as a foreign language. It was a bit, I guess, rare at the time for I guess, high school kids to learn that, to do undergraduate study. But I just this is the option, the only option for me at the time. And also took on a couple of jobs in Beijing to practice my English. So yeah, I got results good enough to study overseas, and then I ended up not yet New Zealand, Netherlands. So I applied school all around the world and then get all these brochures coming to me. And the Netherlands had the study in English in business field, and it's pretty reasonable priced. It's $1,000 a year, so $1,000 a year. So I was like, okay, that's my pick. So I went to the Netherlands. I went to the city called Groningen. Groningen. So the school is called Hanse Hogeschool. So I did my study there, panicked the first few weeks. My English was good to do the exam, but actually understanding what teacher was saying was really, really hard. I was falling behind, and I was asking my dad to get the Chinese textbooks for me. But because I was behind, I tried really hard to catch up, and I did really well academically. Then I was presented the opportunity, do you want to get a second degree for the price of one? So I say, yep, I will do that.
Buy one, get one free, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the program I picked, again, not New Zealand yet, was actually UK in Sheffield. So you put your first choice as second choice. The first choice, unfortunately, at the time, UK was close to Netherlands, cheaper to get to. So I picked UK Sheffield, and then AUT as a second choice. At the time, one about to go overseas, and that program was putting on hold for review. So you go to New Zealand to AUT, and I was like, oh damn it, the flight is more expensive, my tuition. But again, 2 for 1, I'll just do it. So that's how I discovered New Zealand and ended up in New Zealand 2001 to do my second degree, which is in accounting.
So you came to New Zealand by way of Old Zealand, which is the Netherlands. So quite a journey. There seems to be a role that serendipity has played in all of this, right?
Yeah.
Is there a life lesson that you've kind of taken from how life has gone for you and how you started somewhere and then ended up in unexpected places? Is there any lesson around how to leverage serendipity?
Yeah.
How to use serendipity to kind of advance your career, advance your life?
I think life is basically coming into T section, a crossroads, and then you make a choice. You turn left, you turn right, or you go straight. And then you make series of choices and made up your life. So whichever option you take, it will take you to the next stop. So I don't think you can really plan ahead of time. Everyone wants a good life. You make the best choice you can at the time with the information you have. It maybe you end up maybe better the other way. How do I know if I went to UK what my life is going to be, right? So we just don't know.
Do you ever wonder? Are you the type of person that goes back and said, should have, would have, could have?
No.
No?
Once I think you have made your choice, and this is your life, and you should fully embrace it. Anything can be seen as positive and negative. Anything, if you want to pick something miserable, yes, you can do that. But equally, if you pick something positive, then you just enjoy life. So like you said, serendipity, yes, it is. And I think it's about making your choice at a time, be comfortable with your choice, and then making the most out of it.
Okay. Are you the type of person that goes, but you mentioned the fork, the crossroad. Are you the type of person that goes with gut feeling? Or do you analyze, you put the pros and the cons?
Maybe a bit of a both.
Okay.
I am an analytical person, so I probably do a bit of a pros and cons and weigh it. But the gut feeling sometimes in yourself actually does tell you something. So not always just a number like stats is going to tell a picture. Sometimes something more than the numbers, more than the analytical stuff actually can tell you a story as well. So I guess it's a bit of a combination.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you came to New Zealand in 2001, and symbolically, that was the year that AUT became a university, right?
That's right.
So you were kind of the first generation of university students at AUT before, when it became a university. What was AUT like back then, and what was Auckland like back then, 2001,
Yeah.
for someone coming from the Netherlands?
Okay. So Netherlands was definitely the biggest culture shock because that was the first country outside China I went to. People were tall, white, blonde, and I'm sure, yeah. So I came to New Zealand. I'll just add a little bit more to that. Like before coming to New Zealand, I went to New York for my internship. So I think at the time, how do I say? Like I'm driven by ego, like a young kid. You know, like I can do this.
You want to prove yourself.
I want to prove myself. I can do this. So when I came to New Zealand, I felt very confident. People are not as tall as Netherlands. That's a bonus. So the building at the Wakefield Street on the corner of Queen Street, and that's the building I did most of my papers. And I actually met my husband there the first class when I went into the classroom. He's the student I sit next to. So I had a picture of New Zealand just like sheep and farmland, and that's what I had in mind. When I got the university brochure with buildings and stuff, I thought, oh, okay, maybe it's not quite like that. And then when I came here, I was surprised it's a CBD and buildings and shops and stuff. No, it wasn't a culture shock as such because I was quite confident. So I've been to Netherlands, I've been to New York, I know everything. A little bit overconfident, I guess. But I was enjoying my time here because I knew this is a short period of time, not like it was a year for my second degree. And I just want to make the most of it. And when I met my husband, he's not my husband, it was a friend, holiday friend. So he showed me around the places, which was really nice. He would take the lawnmower to my flat to help mow the lawn for me and my flatmates, which is really nice.
I think he definitely wanted to be more than your friend. Fantastic. And what was Auckland like? You know, now today we talk about cost of living crisis. You know, Auckland's so expensive. Was Auckland expensive back then?
Probably not as much.
Okay.
Also, my comparison, the reference point was Netherlands. And Netherlands were more expensive than New Zealand. So coming here didn't really shock me in terms of cost of living. But again, I also referenced to China because China was way cheaper. So I always at the back of my mind to save money. Like when I went to the Netherlands, just you compare every single thing with how much
Back
it is
home,
in China. Oh my God, this is 10 times more. So you're just really, really thrifty, and then, get other like jobs and trying to save as much money as possible. Coming to New Zealand, slightly, better, but it's always the back of your mind. You can't just go out and spend money, and you're still trying to be, saving as much as you can.
So obviously, Chinese people are really known for their strong work ethic and values, right? What aspects of Chinese culture do you think have played an important role in your career? What has driven you? What role did your parents play in all of this?
I think the sort of a stereotype or whatever you call it, like, attributes of people is really a reflection of the culture. So if you think about Chinese, hard working and stuff, the environment we're in is very competitive. A lot of people, if you want to get to the top and be good, you have to study really hard and always have to, succeed in everything you do. So it's very, very competitive. So a lot of people are very hard working nature, and I kind of definitely carry that on in my life. And also my parents' influence, definitely early days, that ego, like set a goal, put into action, and then you can achieve it, which really, really helped me in the early days. I always feel like I'm invisible. If I want to do this, I just get stuck in and I can achieve it, which was satisfying when I achieved the things I wanted to achieve, like getting internship in New York, getting my 2 degrees for a fairly good price and, all that sort of stuff.
I can see you worked in retail,
Yeah.
right? It's all about the value proposition.
Yeah, I'm all about bargain hunting. But also I have to say that this is probably did really well in the early days. But as you grow, you always kind of, I don't know, like looking back, I was like, actually, that's a little bit too much. There are a lot of things that I didn't appreciate from other people. So I think later on in life, the bigger influence would be from a lot of people. Well, I don't use the name of mentors, but really they are mentors. There are a lot of them in my life. These people have different knowledge and skills and who really care about you. So when you have problems or challenges or, like need a second opinion, and those are the people you can rely on. And those people had really big influence over my life into the adulthood, and my partner. So it taught me patience and kindness.
Okay, fantastic. So you started as an analyst at Mighty Ape, and you finished as its CEO, right? So that's quite the trajectory. How did that happen, and what lessons have you learned from your career at Mighty Ape?
Okay, so how I start from analyst to CEO. I'll just start a little bit how I came about to Mighty Ape. Before coming to New Zealand to work, so 2001, that's like over 20 years ago for study, my parents immigrated to Canada, so I joined them after I finished school in Canada, and I decided, New Zealand is such a nice place. I really want to see if it's somewhere I want to live. And that was 2007, I decided to come to New Zealand because I'm reaching the maximum age for working holiday visa by 30. So I packed my life into 1 cube meter box, with half of the box was a projection TV, my biggest asset at the time. I came to New Zealand. First job was actually in a digital agency, specialized in search marketing. And then one of the guys, colleagues, super smart, knew the founder of Mighty Ape and introduced me. Simon Barton, yeah. So we had a chat. He wasn't really particularly looking for a particular role, but I guess we just connected in that meeting. So he's like, Gracie, here's the Google account I haven't touched for 2 years. Can you make it work better? I was like, okay. So that's how I joined Mighty Ape as an analyst and start looking at the Google account. The team were relatively small. We didn't have a marketing team, so I was working on the Google ads. We had another guy doing the email and doing some social media. And slowly we realized there's a lot more potential in marketing, that you can grow the business, and slowly we're growing the team. So I became the head of marketing, and the team, grow with specialized in, email, social marketing, search marketing, and analytics, and so forth. This is good. It really, during that period, we leveraged the online, the burst of going digital and, e-commerce. And then there is a sort of, I guess, a synergy between the sales team and marketing, because focusing on marketing is one thing, but you also want to understand the range of the products, the inventory, so you can really bridge the gap and bring the two teams together. And then I became the head of sales and marketing, and really helped me understand actually not just what we want to promote in marketing team or what looks cool, but you also need to understand the inventory level, what's coming up, and etc. So really trying to get the two teams together. COVID was kind of a turning point for me, as much as it's a challenge period for everyone. That's the time I really personally grew to learn about business in operation side of things. It's very challenging in COVID, because one day the government said no one can operate unless you're essential business, and we weren't. So we had to shut the entire operation down. If you think about a couple of hundred people, and there's the payroll, and literally not a penny coming into the bank account, how long is it going to be? But no one knows. So it was a very challenging period, and the need to understand from operation side of things, and making sure sales and marketing is in sync with operations. So I was on chat, and with Simon and the leadership team, just like, there's no like 9 to 5 anymore, just anytime, right? And then I guess this is my guess, that during that time, Simon see I'm growing as a person to learn about the whole business. And the way that I'm thinking and resolving the problem was the operation, the sales, and he liked it. He's like, you think the same way as I do. And then he started giving some hints, like when we go to the warehouse, he's like, Gracie, look at this. So if, as a CEO, you do this and that. Okay. And then, when the business was acquired by Kogan in Australia, and that's when I stepped into CEO role.
So COVID was kind of a silver lining for you.
It was, yeah.
And as if you didn't have enough on your hands, you also decided to do an applied computing master's degree.
I did.
During COVID.
Yeah, life wasn't hard enough.
Why?
I guess I just enjoy learning. I'm curious. COVID was the time, it's so disruptive. Like, you're staying at home, you can't do a lot of stuff besides work. And I could commit time to do something solid. And this is a degree I can complete and I can commit to. So I signed up to do the applied computing sort of online course. I think that was also the first step into CEO transition period. It was really hard. My weekend was at the library just doing coding. And this, what it taught me, I'm learning coding not because I'm actually going to do programming. It does help me understanding IT side of things because we are quite technology-driven company. But also it's about problem solving. Because with coding, it's like when you get stuck, you're so stuck. You know there's a way out, but you just couldn't figure it out. You have to sort of switch your mind, take a walk and think differently, kind of have to loosen up your brain. I feel like that's a learning for me in terms of acute problem solving. And I think a lot of things we can learn from, when you learn something, it's not specifically for that knowledge, but it's the process of learning that knowledge is quite valuable.
It's really interesting. Almost makes me want to study applied computing.
Do it.
So obviously, digital marketing and analytical skills played a really important role. What kind of skills do you think matter most in today's business landscape? And what advice would you give to, we've got a lot of professional master's students, MBA students, right? What kind of skills would you advise them to invest in?
I think where I came from with analytical skill, it just kind of naturally where my interest is at. So when I went to school, my favorite subjects were math and physics, but not necessarily everyone's favorite. So when I learned this stuff, as much as also in the early days, very much analytical and rational thinking. But what I learned later on, the soft skill side of things is really, really important, especially when I became a leader and doing interviews and observing how team dynamics are. It's so important to be able to work in a team environment. That person has the, curiosity to learn, being open-minded, to listen to others' opinions. So I actually would advise students or people thinking about career development, thinking about the soft skill side of things. How do you help nurture that side? How do you create a really engaging and productive relationship with people? There are books out there. Your day-to-day interaction with people, definitely you learn from your failures and success. But there are some really good books out there talking about communications and how you foster a good relationship. It's good for yourself as well. You want to be happy. You don't want to be miserable. So you want to work together really well with other people.
Well put. I mean, AUT has always prided itself of kind of marrying the A skills and the C skills, right?
Oh, awesome.
The analytical skills with the collaboration and the curiosity and the critical thinking skills. Do you believe in magic?
I do.
Okay, right? So you might think, where's Matt going with this question? Bear with me, right? So Mighty Ape started as a small physical store in Auckland.
Correct.
And it evolved into one of the largest online retailers in New Zealand, serving 700,000 customers and an annual turnover of 150 million, right? Impressive. And it's not only an online retailer, you have your own courier service called Jungle Express that delivers tens of thousands of deliveries every month. You've spun into mobile, so there's Mighty Mobile, so it's becoming a little bit of a mini empire. And yet the company has a purpose statement that mentions the word magic. I found that really, really fascinating, right?
Yeah.
That the company would place such a high premium on magic. How important is purpose
Yeah.
for what Mighty Ape does, and how important is magic for building that competitive advantage?
Okay. So just give you a little bit background, this magic, where it's come from, is in our purpose statement. It's delivering magic and exceptional service by connecting people with the things they love. So the business was successful without a purpose statement for many, many years. We had core values,
Okay.
things like, be honest and, think long term and putting customers first. Very, very critical. And we did build very successful business just based on core values. When I stepped into the CEO role, I was like, okay, it's great. We put customers first. Why? We do fast delivery. Why? I kind of want to peel the next level to make sure people understand why we're doing these things. So when we start exploring this, the reason we want to do really fast service, turn up their door unexpectedly, open the parcels, oh my God, this stuff is so cool, is creating that magic moment. So it's not just about receiving the physical product, it's creating an experience. So we kind of uncovered that. We really like the magic, the word magic, because it's kind of unlimited. It could be any sort of a magical experience. So right now we may be doing fast delivery, we may be doing Jungle Express. Mobile is another one with unlimited data. So this is all kind of in a theme of creating something exceeding expectation, make it magical. Actually, I don't know if anyone ordered from Mighty Ape. The email, the order sent or received was with the rainbow and the unicorn, and with the fireworks at the back. So that's what we're trying to create. Yeah.
And how did you come across that word magic? Like, was it like workshops with the employees? Did you get like consultants in?
No consultants.
No consultants, all internal?
Yeah, so we have, I guess we have very strong values. Over these years, the founder just, instilled this value amongst us. So if you're talking about business decisions every day, a lot of people make the right decisions. I think when I step in, we did some workshop, like for the leadership team, we took offsite. I remember this exercise I did with them was like, don't look at the internet, write down the 10 core values we've got. So the entire leadership team, no one got all 10. I was like, okay, some work to do because 10 is too many. And then I start asking the question about why we're doing this to uncover the next level of our purpose. So we understand when we establish a purpose statement, I want something concise that people can remember. It's not just coming from the leadership team. It needs to come from our staff as well. They know our core values as well. We do the town hall. I did the same exercise again. I said, don't look at the internet, write down the 10 core values, but I can't really monitor hundreds of people. So I'm sure some people look at it, but I had a feeling not everyone get all 10. So the job is to condense the 10 core values, something people remember. And the purpose, again, I asked the same question I did with the leadership team and get people to think what's the next level we're trying to deliver, why we're doing what we do. So I guess when it came together,
then the magic happened.
And the magic happened, pretty much.
Fantastic. So you mentioned you were asking why and you were peeling away the layers, right? So obviously a leader's job is to ask the thought-provoking questions, right? How would you describe yourself as a leader? What kind of a leadership style is Gracie? Is it management by walking around? Is it servant leadership? Is it values-based leadership?
I guess my principle is about empowering people for two reasons. When people are empowered, they are happy because they are making a difference. They feel why they are there, and they're making tangible, progress and improvement. B, it's easier for the leader. I don't want to go in there and make all the decisions. It's good to create an environment that is trust and honest is there, then people can make good decisions. When you have I guess I was the skipper. I guess overall we have a purpose statement where we wanna go. So when it comes to everyday decision, people will just ask a question: is this actually creating a really good experience for the customers? Is this actually according to one of our core values? So they can actually come up with a solution to make the right decision. So yeah, I think my leadership style is about empowering people and make sure that I create that culture environment that people can make decisions, can speak up of their ideas and not to be ridiculed.
So also psychological safety, I'm guessing, plays a role in that.
Yeah.
So you also seem to relish in the opportunities to step out of your comfort zone, right? So you didn't know how to swim until you were in your 30s. You started learning the piano in your 40s. How does this challenging yourself link with your career or maybe leadership style? Is there a lesson in that?
I'm forever curious. I just want to, why? Do you know those kind of annoying kids just keep asking why? And then the next
2-year-olds,
one,
yeah.
I did that. My teacher was so upset and told my mom I would just never stop. Anyway, that kind of carried over to adulthood. Maybe I won't ask you continue why, but I do have a curious mind. I was like, ooh, this looks interesting. Could I do that? So when I did piano after 40, I did Google. I was like, can 40-year-olds still learn piano? They would say, yes, you can. And I was like, 50, 60, oh yeah, okay. So that's kind of like, pick up piano after 40. And swimming, I guess, I grew up in China, never really learned how to swim. And I think it's such a good skill to have and a lot of opportunity, a new world to discover when you learn how to swim. So I learned swim from Tepe Bath. There's a kids pool. I started from there. First time stepping into the 25 meter, which is deeper than me. I was nerve-wracking. My heart rate goes up. And then I just kept on swimming years and years, and I do open water races, and not a problem. And now I scuba dive. This was a birthday gift from my husband. So he's a diver. He used to do pro diving, so he's a really good diver. So he gave me birthday gift of becoming a scuba diver, certified. So I always had this beautiful image of me hand in hand with him in the beautiful coral sea. That never happened. But it's good skill to have now. Like when we travel, if I want to explore, I can go snorkel or scuba dive, and it's a completely different world. It's so beautiful. I think it just helps you to uncover a lot of the beauty of life. So I guess my curiosity helped me to enjoy a lot of things. Also, I think you have to step outside your comfort zone to grow. Like right now, I feel uncomfortable because I don't do this very often. But I think the more I do it, then I'll get better. So maybe one day my heart rate won't go up, my face won't go red. But yeah, I think it just, just push yourself, nudge yourself a little bit, and that's how you personally grow and just, more life to experience.
And you mentioned like when you were in your 20s, you were driven by ego, right?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, there has to be a level of humility when you step out of your comfort zone, right? When you are in your 30s and you're learning how to swim, when you're in your 40s and you're a successful CEO, and then you're starting from zero, from scratch, playing the piano, right? So is there a lesson in there as well that, as you grow older, you also develop humility in trying out new things?
Yeah, definitely. I guess, I guess it's almost a little embarrassing think about the younger you or the way you think. But again, I don't regret it. I think it got me where I am now. And your learning process, it is a learning curve. You can't fast track and suddenly you became this wise person. You have to learn through your mistakes, through stepping out of your comfort zone. So I guess the lesson is life will pan out the way it is. You just have to embrace it. And there are moments that you wish this didn't happen, or this is so unfair or uncomfortable. Maybe just think this as a lesson to learn to make you more resilient. And also, this is something I've been wondering, I guess, the past year or so is we have certain words to describe negative experience and emotion, like jealousy, anger, or the upsetting moment and stuff like that. What if we look at these words and make them neutral? So the feeling of anger, the feeling of a disappointment, it's just a wave in your heart that's slightly uncomfortable, but don't let that get to you, or let it pass. So one thing I learned with pain, for example, pain, no one wants pain. What I learned, okay, so I'm not sure if it's a really good example. I got shingles. I don't know anyone knows shingles. It's not very comfortable. It's painful. I don't get sick very often, so I was really bad with managing pain, and I couldn't sleep. So I Googled like shingles, and it's like, yes, it's painful. I couldn't sleep. You know what changed? What changed for me is that, okay, if I look at pain as observing a sensation rather than saying it's negative, I know I can't fight it because the internet tells me this is going to be painful. I just observe it and embrace it and just nursing along with it. And that was the first night I could get some sleep. So I realized some of the negative stuff, if you're trying to see it as a neutral and embrace it because you can't change it, then things will actually become a lot easier.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah, think about that.
So in your career, it kind of feels like you took, a phased approach, right? You challenge yourself physically, you challenge yourself mentally. Is that strategic? Is that deliberate? Did that just kind of happen organically?
Yeah. You probably get it. This just pan out like it is. I think one step at a time, you get to the fork, you make your choice, and life pan out. You can't really regret, I should have gone the other way or whatever. Maybe a lesson to learn for the next decision making. I think it's just doing your best. If you give it your best, that's your standard, not because you're trying to prove yourself to other people, I'm the best, but do it because you can. I think you will see opportunities coming for you. You're growing as a person, you're more capable of more things, and then there will be more opportunities for you.
So you owe it to yourself, right? To try your best and the rest?
Yeah, I think just do it because you can. Sometimes, there is a bit of a drive if you got a enemy or someone you don't like, just I can do better than you or whatever. It can be a temporary force to drive you to succeed for sure, but I don't think it's sustainable. You can't always pick a negative force in order to propel you. If you do it because you can, if you think about the fact that we are here as human beings, like giving the chance of living this life is pretty much a miracle. And then you are physically or mentally or whatever can do something, then do it, enjoy, and that's just part of experiencing life.
Kind of goes back to, don't regret the things you did, regret the things you didn't. So you recently finished up your role as CEO at Mighty Ape. You learned how to swim in your 30s. You learned how to play the piano in your 40s. What's next? What's the next exciting project or idea or new thing to pick up and learn?
Okay, so right now I started looking into governance. So I'm on the board of Radio New Zealand. So it's a charter-driven organization, and I'm quite passionate about sort of very purpose-driven organization. I'm learning Te Reo.
Okay.
So I feel like, even though I've been in New Zealand for so long, but never really prioritized to learn this language, it tells about our history, our legacy. So I really want to use learning this language to explore more about New Zealand, which is where I call home now. I just became a firefighter, volunteer firefighter. So this is very, very outside my comfort zone. I wouldn't be picked professionally for sure. Because of volunteer.
Give her a year.
I was doing the hose yesterday. Oh man, I was like, my shoulders feels like really sore, and I was the worst performer. But this is the thing, right? I feel like I can make probably certain good decisions, business sense, but when it comes to like spatial awareness and physical activities, I'm rubbish. Like my husband just like, oh my God. I can just imagine you carrying the hose, and it was terrible. But I became the bottom of the student. I'm trying to please my officers, like, I can do this. Just give me more time. Can I take the hose home? I can practice. So yes, that's what I'm doing now. I think I will never be elite firefighter.
Okay.
I'm quite small, and the gear doesn't shrink because you're small.
And the fire doesn't shrink, right?
No, but I think it's gonna, it's a learning process. Appreciate, you can't always be the best of, the competitiveness, right? You're not gonna be the best because physically or mentally, like your skill set is here. But I like the idea that I'm exploring a new area that I'm not good at, so I will be better with spatial awareness. I'll be better with, thinking about solutions physically. I learned a few knots, which are really good, for example. And I'm getting used to, you are not the best at everything, and you're okay with that, and you can still contribute.
So are there leadership lessons in firefighting? Isn't a leader just like a kind of firefighter in the organization? Or?
I just started, but this is completely different approach from being a leader.
Seriously?
Well, I need to listen whatever they say.
Okay.
I cannot challenge. So sometimes my husband warned me, he's like, if you got a new idea how to do things better, don't say it, just do it. So like they established a process. It's very process driven, right? It's very big health and safety stuff. And over many decades, don't challenge it, just do what they do. I kind of just learned my lesson like yesterday when we were doing the host practice, like me and a few new recruits were doing it. I figured out a shortcut of making things slightly easier. So I showed the girls that I do it this way. She said, oh my God, you saved me so much. And then she was doing that. And when the officer came, she's like, Gracie just showed me this great thing. I said, no, don't do it that way. Okay, no more making suggestions.
That was the analyst in you, huh?
Yeah, I was trying to think about physics, and this does save a little bit of effort, but there is a reason why they don't do it. So yeah, so it's quite different. So now I'm just following and doing what I'm told.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that, soon you're going to make slight improvements here and there.
No, I'm not sure about that.
So you've been in New Zealand for quite a while now, right? And you said New Zealand feels like home, right?
Yeah.
Have you been able to kind of take the best, from East and West, as corny as it sounds, right? What were the, kind of the best things that have equipped you for your life and your career from your upbringing? How have you been able to marry that with New Zealand and the New Zealand environment and the Kiwi way of doing things?
I think I'm very fortunate to have all these experiences, like living in China and studying in Europe, also worked in North America and come to New Zealand, and you've picked the best country. So I'm very happy that I ended up in New Zealand. I think it's a really good balance in New Zealand in terms of, like my culture growing up being very competitive and being the best you can. And in New Zealand, there's a bit of like lifestyle and your personal wellness. I think it's a really good balance. I remember talking to a friend who lives in Indonesia. She just had young babies, and she's quite successful in her career. And her boss was telling her, you have to pick your career development or your family. And when she told me that, I was like, oh my God, like I forgot how competitive it is. Your boss is asking you this, but in New Zealand, no doubt, family. Like you work for it because you want to have, make sure your family, like everything you need. So it was quite a, I guess, mind-blowing thing when she said that. Made me appreciate I'm in New Zealand. This is not something I have to worry about if I have to pick my career. Forget about the rest of the things. So yeah, I think it's really good in New Zealand having that balance and beautiful landscape and all the natural resources we have here.
So there's no danger that your next chapter will be overseas? With all the brain drain and, people, some particularly younger generations pursuing careers internationally.
I mean, people who explore other countries, I think that's really open up your perspective. So I do like traveling. Like I feel like when I go overseas or go to other places, just slight change of culture, even in Australia, as much, so close to us, it's still quite eye-opening how maybe the transport system works differently or whatever. So you always learn something. So I do like that, every now and then when you are so used to your environment, you're getting very comfortable, you go somewhere, you see things differently. One of the things I really resonate with me when I was in Japan, so I was doing travel without itinerary, just wherever I end up to be. That's after, I left my CEO role. I just kind of want to just solo travel, whatever I can experience. I went to this little town by chance. It's not a touristy place. It's called Gojo. And there are just a handful of restaurants. I went to this local teppanyaki restaurant and run by old couple, probably into their 60s. So we use Google Translate to have the conversation. Yeah. So they've been running that restaurant for over 30 years, and they're really happy. And they have customers coming in. That's part of their daily thing. They're just really happy, and it's kind of a very eye-opening, like they are not growing as a business. They just run their little restaurant, they're serving the community, and they're happy. So I thought about, success needs to be redefined. It's waking up happy. So if you look at yourself, it's not about the car, your job, your title, your house. It's about if you're happy or not. And what are the things you can do, and what are the things you have to accept. This is another thing I hope that help you as well as a tool to live a happy life, is when you get into a circumstance that's very challenging or difficult, this is a serenity prayer probably you guys, some of you have heard of, is accept the things you can't change and the courage to change the things you can, and the wisdom to differentiate the two. So I often look at it, when something really bugs me or frustrating, I look at it, what are the things in this situation that I can't change? Often it's external things you can't change, You can't change the wind, but you can adjust your sail. That's another saying. So things you can't change, like the pain, and then when I talk about shingles, then accept it. So don't fight with it. No matter how grumpy you are and stuff, that's not going to help the situation. Accept it. And then what are the things you can actually make a change? So have the courage to make the change. And I guess the wisdom to differentiate the two, that's basically the first step. You have to analyze the situation, make sure that what are the things you need to settle on, and what are the things you can make a change.
Just reminds me, Toni Morrison said, if you don't like something, do everything you can to change it. If you cannot change it, then change your mind. Change
Correct.
how you look at it.
Yeah.
So time surely flies, and we've got about 15 minutes that we want to leave for our audience members. I'm sure there's heaps of questions. We've touched on kind of 3 areas, right? Your life story, some career advice, and your career at Mighty Ape, but also some plans for the future. So if you have a question, if you can just raise your hand and please introduce yourself so that we know who you are.
Hi, Gracie. Thank you for your wonderful and inspiring idea today. My name is Tim. I am a graduate from AUT and now a software engineer.
Nice.
Just wondering, one of the important job of CEO is setting directions. I just want to ask if you can share some of your examples as CEO of Mighty Ape, and what direction you have set and how you come to make that decision, especially, I guess, during the COVID time and when a lot of things have changed fundamentally. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure, yeah. I don't set directions. I set the vision, shared vision. Vision even come from the team altogether. I roughly have an idea where it's gonna go, but I ask the question so people come up with a solution. The same with a direction or making decision about project or making, important decision making. It's really important to collaborate, because I could be military style, like the firefighter, just do what I say. Unfortunately, in business world, it doesn't work that way. You need the team buy-in. You need everyone to be on the boat and sail in the same direction. So you're creating basically, I'm the skipper, but I'm actually creating everyone to be a skipper. So when the storm hits, they all know what they're supposed to do. So I think a lot of directions, I may have an idea initially, but I also want to ask a question to see what comes from the team. So maybe they are on the same trajectory as me. Great. So what my thinking was probably good enough. But sometimes they might come up with something actually I didn't think about. And that's the fabulous part about working with so many different people. Your mind is kind of contained in one, I guess, limited. But when you have more people, you have a much more bigger pool to get the ideas from and to collaborate. So that's the case at Mighty Ape. I usually ask a lot of questions, open-ended questions.
I think we had a gentleman over there.
Hi, Grace. Thank you so much. I came along. I was really excited to hear more about the Mighty Ape story.
Sure.
And was blown away by your personal story. So thank you very much for that. So my question is a little bit more about Mighty Ape and e-commerce. And I was just wondering, through the growth phases, like from a small store to a couple hundred staff, etc., and huge numbers, are there sort of set phases that you can remember or milestones where things changed and what the major sort of reason to it was?
Sure.
In terms of the success stages?
Yep. So a quick timeline of Mighty Ape. So started in 1990s by Simon and Vicky Barton, founders of a physical store. It's called Game Zone. And then they introduced the website, which is more like a catalog of new releases. It wasn't e-commerce. And then they introduced the e-commerce while running the store and realized, why don't we just go pure e-commerce and shut the store? And then they have the pure play online e-commerce. Mighty Ape brand was born in 2008. So instead of a game-related name brand, so Mighty Ape is generic, so we can do more products, so books and toys, and start introducing during that time. So I joined Mighty Ape 2012. At the time, the warehouse is about 1,200 square meter in Orbit Drive. So Simon's story is from the garage kind of like business growing, got the first warehouse like 100 square meter, and then that was already a certain scale when I joined them. We had staff, probably 15 to 20 office people, so I started off having my cubicle, but later on I was chucked between the small cafeteria and the toilet with the...
Critical location.
Yeah, knowing what's going on, and the dongle to plug into your computer to connect to the Wi-Fi. So we were outgrowing that space very quickly. And then we moved to Roswell, which is 5,000 square meter warehouse. So that's kind of like a jump from what the scale of the business we're doing, because we introduced a lot of new categories. We got a lot of sales by leveraging, that was sort of the time when social media started rising up and where our email list is growing, and we're doing a lot of Google ads. So Roswell was the second place I was in. From the space being kind of empty, like in a warehouse, Simon even put a cricket net in there because there's too much space and we might as well play cricket there. Later on, just like not enough space. And then we moved to Silverdale, which is 10,000 square meter warehouse and purpose built for Mighty Ape. Again, empty, feels empty to start with, and quickly we fill up the space. How we grow, I think introducing the categories and start, like our cornerstone bread and butter is gaming. So we definitely make sure we nail that really well, like the latest release and pre-orders and the range and all that. The service is really important. So how quickly we get the products to the customers, and normally people don't expect to be that quick. So I think some really things that we do is non-negotiable for Mighty Ape was the service level, the fast delivery. I guess, yeah, the milestone was the new, each time when we introduce a new category is kind of a bit of a milestone, because we suddenly increased the range by another, thousands of products to today. I think it's over 1 million products in the warehouse. During my CEO time, the milestone, I feel like the introduction of Mighty Mobile was a milestone, sort of start experimenting outside, like just the online retail, still trying to create that magical experience for the customers. And the warehouse in Christchurch, that was a 5,000 square meter warehouse, the second location for Mighty Ape to serve South Island customers. Talking about serendipity, that warehouse, how we end up having that was something to do with applied computing I studied.
Seriously?
So I stay in touch with my supply chain professor after finishing. He hooked me up with the Christchurch airport. So when we're looking for the warehouse, I talked to them while we obviously check all other different locations, and then we ended up being their tenant. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, a few, really, really exciting time to be at Mighty Ape with all these different milestones and things we achieved in that period of time. Thanks for the question.
Thanks for the very inspiring talk, Gracie. I've recently ventured into the, people and consulting space, and what
If
I
you can
often
just introduce yourself, please.
Sorry, I'm Kunal. I'm an MBA alumni, and what I often notice is a hesitation to adapt. Whether it's small businesses or job seekers, and you've probably successfully adapted, which is why you've seen a very glorious career. But what tips would you give to future job seekers who wanted to build a career in New Zealand?
It's kind of like Simon's principles, you adapt or you die, So things are moving so fast around us. If you don't catch up with that speed, you're basically left behind. So we know this world is constantly changing, and also, with the technology. I guess just having that mindset is going to be uncomfortable for changes. You like to do the things how you usually do things. But that's also growth, and that's where the excitement is created. You can't do the same old stuff every day and then gradually left behind and maybe out of business. So I think it is important to have that mindset that things are changing. You got to be able to adapt to it and okay with the changes. And you probably have to, if in a teamwork environment, if it's a one-person band, that's easy enough. You got that mindset to just keep changing, adapting. But if you have a team, you got to bring everyone on the journey together. Technology is fast changing, good or bad. I think you sometimes ask why helps, like for long term. And for short term, maybe it is a new technology. You just have to adapt in order for this industry or particular business to succeed. Yeah. I guess for soft skill wise, for students or in the job area is just be very open minded. Don't say. I guess I describe people like red light people and green light people. Mm-hmm. There's certain people who just say, no, we can't do this. And there are people who say, oh, let's try it out. Mm-hmm. And that's how Jungle Express was born. Mm-hmm. I was like, why don't we do this? It's not that revolutionary. Amazon's doing it. It is quite challenging with having to set up a whole network and drivers, all that. And I remember I asked a team member about expanding that service to other cities by working with the cargo service with the airline. And I do remember that was a red light person who said, no, there's so many things you couldn't do. But then it happened, If you look at Alibaba Hema supermarket, I use that example with our staff. It's like, look, they made this half-an-hour grocery delivery possible in a very congested environment. Just imagine someone bring up the idea, hey guys, let's do this half-an-hour delivery. And imagine the team's like, are you kidding me? Then this would not happen. But obviously that wasn't a dynamic in the room. They said, okay, that's exciting. There's going to be a lot of, obstacles and challenges, but how do we make that happen? And then it happened. So I think it just be open-minded. Some stuff sounds ridiculous, but nowadays it's very hard to be ridiculous. Things are moving so fast. You got to be able to think, dream big, and just see what are the opportunities and the feasibility to make that happen.
So I hate to be the red light person, but time's kind of getting to us. So maybe one last question.
Hi, Gracie. My name is Anshul, and I've not done any course here. My partner did, so I'm accompanying him for the talk.
Welcome.
And thank you for sharing about your life. It has been I've been able to connect to a lot of it. So what I wanted to ask was that, has there been a moment, a day, a month kind of a thing in your life which has radically changed your perception about anything, and it has impacted you very strongly in your personal and or professional life?
I guess maybe a bit of a recency bias. Like the recent experience as a CEO has very profound impact on me. I think when people talk about mental health and say, oh, yeah, you know, because I'm quite a happy person. But when I actually had mental challenges, I realized how hard it is. And I realized that, you know, when I'm very proud of like improving my fitness and running marathons and doing swim, all that, working on your mental resilience is way harder. Because when you're in the situation that you're really stressed and you're really upset, as much as I was talking about observing and, you know, what earlier, that's all part of the learning. Because the time when you're in it, it's so hard to see, and having those people, support people around you, help you to see things through is really important. And having, I guess I don't regret of the stress I experienced, because it made me who I am today and giving me the tool of if I encounter the stressful situation, what I should do. I think, yeah, during the CEO time, when there were a lot of challenges happening at the same time, I didn't know what burnout was, but I think I was having burnout. And that's only sort of looking back and recognize all the signs. And I know in the future, then I would recognize earlier. And, you know, the new tools that I learned through this period has been really, really valuable. It's a short period of time, but really toughened my mental resilience. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, when, you know, Gracie and I first met for coffee about 10 days ago, and I had so many questions prepared for Mighty Ape, and then the conversation just kind of steered in different directions. So, and this kind of shows today we touched on different areas, right? I didn't want to just have that, you know, stereotypical interview. When you were CEO, how did you do this, right? I think you're such a fascinating person.
Thank you for having me.
There's so much to you beyond just the incredible work that you've done with Mighty Ape. And hopefully we've been able to shine a spotlight on some of those interesting areas. I think all of us are eagerly anticipating to see what's next and what your big project is going to be in your 50s and in your 60s and, you know, in your 70s and so on.
Yeah.
We're extremely proud here at AUT to call you our alumni, to be an ambassador for us. And we hope that, you know, we get to create some magic together in the future as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very
Tēnā
much.
koutou katoa.